Hard Rock Lunch Box.
The recording is in progress. We made it. Recording is in progress. Do you guys hear the recording is in progress, or do I just hear that? Does anybody actually know? Let me let's see. I'm gonna enlarge that. It looks like is this happening? Are we happening? Okay, I'm here. God, I look like shit.
You look amazing. What do you mean, man? How's it going?
Lying to me right away. I love it.
Straight to the point. How are you, man?
I'm good. How are you? It looks cold where you are.
Yeah, and it definitely is, man. I'm out here right outside of DC, man, right now. There's actually a snowstorm that just hit, and there's another one that's going to be hitting this weekend.
Don't you just love January in the Northeast, man?
Right? It's beautiful, man. I'll tell you right now, anytime I drive around, I got to walk around with like 3 outfits. I got some shorts, some thong flop, and a North Face jacket, just because you never know, you know?
Well, that's what they were saying. They had that big snowstorm in DC a couple weeks ago that people were trapped for like 19 hours. And even like your the state senator from Virginia, Tim Kaine, was like, yeah, I survived on a Dr. Pepper and an orange. Now, absolutely my choice for survival kind of stuff. But like, you think about that stuff. And I was telling my kids, like people were taking their kids like out of the cars so they could just like walk, and their dogs and stuff, just walking them on I-95. This is not even like Bob's Road, man. This is I-95, like the road. And people were stuck. Man. So aside from the weather, man, it'll come at you.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like we already have traffic the way it is, right? But at least based on what I was looking at, a lot of stores closed down and sent all their employees home at this, instead of just saying, you know what, let's just throw in the towel. Let's not even open. Everybody tried to open, sent their employees home at the same time, and all the government employees home at the same time, and it was a mess. Yeah,
no, there's not. I mean, to be fair, I mean, there's not a lot of planning that goes into a lot of things all the time. Not a lot of coordination this day and age, which is funny because we're the most technically advanced for communications that we've ever been. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you can get the word out, but like. Still, people are just people. I'm gonna tell you something, and I want you to know that it's not bothering me, but your video is sideways, and I'm kind of digging it. But I figured I would. Yeah, that's good. That works too. I was digging. I was digging the sideways.
Yeah, I was gonna shoot you a text and be like, "Yo, does he want? Do I be on landscape? Am I gonna be on the other one? Like, I was like, let me just shift it around. But no, this is good. This works good too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I so don't care. Like, I feel like the more, like, even every time I start these meetings, like, half of me hopes for a technical problem because it's way funnier because it's live, right? Like, it's just when stuff is just not happening. It's like, the people in the chat and stuff are like, oh, you suck. It's like, oh, thanks, love you too.
Tell me how you really feel.
Oh, they do. They have no. I got to tell you, man, I have never seen a more supportive / less supportive group of people than the people that listen to this show. I mean, they love the show, but they want it the way they want it, when they want it, and how they want it. And it's like, whenever I do something wrong,
that means you're doing something good, man. What you mean?
I don't know. I that's what they keep saying. I get a lot of feels like, now dance, monkey boy. It's like, oh, okay, let me turn on a song you like. like I got in trouble. Man. I don't know if you know, there's this video song thing. It's called I'm the Best. And it's, I mean, I'll send it to you privately because it, like my son's like 20, he's 21, and he found this thing. It's got like 9 million views. It is like the world's worst video and song, kind of like bad hip hop, but it is the catchiest earworm. And I drove all the way up from the South Shore of New Jersey singing this song, and it is still in my head. So I played it on the show, and I got just shy of death threats. Like, don't ever play that song again.
Oh my god! Well, now I'm scared if you do send it to me, because I'll be the guy just driving around like, You know what?
Best.
This thing kind of bops. This thing kind of bops.
Catchy, right? And it's dangerous for people like us. Like, we're songwriters. Like, you don't know where that's gonna land. Like 3 years later, you'd be like, "Yo, I got this really cool idea for a song." You're like those poor guys that always end up getting sued for ripping off songs. Like, no, I heard it in an elevator one time, and it's lived here.
It's in this little box in the back of my head.
Yeah, like songwriters have that. Like, we're not immune. Like, we listen to stuff, so we hear things. So speaking of that, like, let me just introduce who you are, because I've been actually playing your stuff so often that I feel like I know you, and I realize I don't. So nice to meet you.
I appreciate that.
This everybody listening, this is see, the chat's already starting. They're like, get ready to be ignored, because I ignore them when I'm talking to a guest, because I was raised right. Anyway, this
that
is
eye contact.
Yeah, right. You pay attention to your guests. Like, you know, if I had Entenmann's cake, I'd be offering it. But like, they're just
there you go.
They're already mad, man. It's been 5 minutes. Anyway, this is Rauli V, and he is the mastermind behind the song Bonnie and Clyde. Now, I know you have a lot of other songs, and I'm even this is me being professional, because what I do on the show is I basically do what I want or what they want. So I would normally play Bonnie and Clyde, 'cause it's my favorite of yours, but I know you do have a new song out called Problems, so I'm going to suck it up and be professional and play Problems after the interview. But I just want to say, like, because your PR company sent me, it was so funny. It wasn't like a throwaway, but they were just like, I think you might like this one. And they sent me the link, and the link didn't work. And I was like, yeah, the link didn't work, but like, you know, just whatever. And Arlene was like, no, here's the new link. And I played it, and I was like, yo, this song is really, really good. She's like, yeah, I know. That's why I sent it twice. So I really dug it, because that is right up my alley. But as I listen to more and more of your stuff, not that you're all over the map, but you're over, maybe not all, but over the map. So, yeah. And then as I was reading some of your bio, it's like you were born in New York City, then you went to the DR, and now you're like they said that like you were at Delmarva for a little while, and now you're in DC. So like, you're actually all over the map.
Yeah. My whole life has been just like that, man. So
I don't know, man. Like, normally I don't delve into so much stuff, but like, as somebody that moved a lot as a kid, I'm always interested in when I find somebody else, like, what's that like? Like, New York to DR to DC? Like,
I mean, I'll tell you this much. I'll be lying if it said it was easy, right? Now, I'll tell you this much. I did take and learn and bring things in because no matter what, every 2 to 3 years, I always had new friends, right? That was the number one thing as a kid, right? Obviously, when I was in New York, when I was born there, I moved actually down to Maryland before I went to Dominican Republic, and I did like maybe it was like first grade and second grade, and then halfway through third grade I went to DR, right? So that's how I was able to get that American accent, but then I forgot all my English in Dominican Republic, because now I had to relearn Spanish and forget the English, and it was all over the place. But honestly, you know, the biggest thing that helped me out was just being a people person, right? Just because I never knew how long I was going to get with that person in front of me, I want to make sure I cherish that moment that I had, right? That was probably the number one thing that I got out of everything, going from yet again New York to Maryland to DR, back over here now in DC, and the majority of the time I'm in Baltimore now as well, especially musically. So usually I'm all over the map, and just like this area in the DMV, which is what we call it, right? Not where you go get your license plate or anything like that, but you know, this DC, Virginia, Maryland area, there's a lot of different spices.
Yeah, there is. And I know that my family, my adult family, we used to spend a lot of time on the peninsula, Delmarva Peninsula, and it's not that far, because I'm on Long Island, so I'm like right outside of New York City. It's not that far, but it really is a world away. And you know, especially when you're dealing with like music and style, like I have all these memories of like driving south, like even when I was like not a child, but maybe 18 and 19, driving south. And I would just like have the radio station on, like back in those days, and I would go through, like, you know, I'd get the all city stations, then I'd get WSOU, so I'd get some heavy metal, and then I'd hit the Baltimore stations, like completely different bands that I've never heard of. And I know that regionally, when my band tours, like you just find these whole different scenes. And it seems like when I listen to the stuff that you write, it seems like you've held on to a piece of each one of these. Because even when I was listening to like, which one was it? Maybe Can't Feel, Problems too, but it was one of them. It was like, because you have this balls out like kind of rock male voice, and it's like underneath is like, that shouldn't sound like that underneath, man. Like it's kind of like you walked in on somebody doing something and be like, who's here that can sing? Like, and I love that because it stretches like what you do. Like when I reformed my band with my new guys, I got 3 thrash metal guys, and I'm just rock, and they just like, no, it should be faster and heavier. I'm like, no, let's just pull back, and you find that medium, and I find that in a lot of your music. Do you find that too? Do you like? Do you push and pull to make it work, or does it just work?
No, I mean, sometimes, most of the time it's push and pull, right? Sometimes, especially like now that I'm doing a lot of work at home, a lot of it's just been flowing, right? Now it's like I have certain things to set up, certain sounds that I like, and once I start going, it's just, next you know, it's 4 a.m, right? But as far as like, the tracks that like Bonnie and Clyde, like you mentioned, like Can't Feel, a lot of those tracks started in a place where it didn't make any sense. And then through push and pull, that's how we got there. Can't Feel, I was thinking about going through a live stream and going through the first version of that song. And the first version was like if Lotta Spewed and like Deftones had a baby. Like it does not sound like what it sounds like now. And after push and pull and going back to your earworm part, I was like, man, listen, we just need a fat beat, some dope ass lyrics with a good melody on it, man. And then that's how we were just like, hey, we just need to go 30 seconds, loop it up, let's go, right? After we just spent 6 months just cooking. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times, like those things, like what I do here on the show, because like I don't play my band a lot because I feel like it's weird me playing my own stuff. So what I try and do is I play like rare or like unplugged versions or even some demo versions. And like I have demo versions of some of our songs that like people like, there's no way that's the same song, because I'm playing them step 2 at a step 15, like all those different things. And like we've had stuff where we've taken out choruses and stuff, and then when we rewrote the verse, like those choruses had to go back in. So like I love that stuff, and the creative stuff that comes with, now try this, then try this, no, that other thing that we were doing. And I feel like I could feel that in the stuff. I just wasn't sure if you just like went in, you were like, I got it, and I just sang over it. I'm glad to hear that there's so much back and forth in it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot, man. And I'll tell you, like some of these songs I wrote maybe 2-3 years ago, and when I brought it up in the new light, things that are happening, things just, sometimes things happen for a reason. Sometimes songs need time just to kind of sit, right, and make sure it forms itself up. Because I'll tell you, if I would have released some of these songs, especially like Can't Feel, I want to say 3-4 years ago, it wouldn't have made sense at all. Right. Like now with this project at this time, it all makes sense just because it's not like, I had this crazy back and forth in my head before I started this project. And I was like, man, I just need to let me do a band. Let me, or even if I'm doing it by myself, let me just make a band name, right? Because it's so weird for me to say, hey, well, are you a musician? Yeah. What band are you in? Well, it's kind of like a solo project, but then I sound like a douchebag. And I'm like, well, it's kind of like, so I still find myself in that realm. However, I wouldn't change it for anything, man. I love what I'm doing now.
Well, that's awesome. And it definitely shows. And I totally agree with you. The moment you need to start explaining what it is that you're doing, like, man, like I was told, I think I was like 19 or 20, and a producer pulled me aside and, was explaining to me basically why everything has to be perfect when you record. He's like, because you're going to have people listen to this stuff and you can't sit next to him and be like, well, what we were going for there is this sound. Like they're not in the room with you, man. You're what you put forward is what you are. So like having an image and an identity and, well, what are you? Like, here's what I am, man. Here's my body of work and stuff. But I will say I'm super stoked to hear another artist like reference and talk about and own like having some songs for like a long period of time. Like I over COVID for sure, I've noticed the trend for a lot of people, a lot of bands to write songs, record them and put them out, like so that the whole process is like a month and a half long. And not that every song is fine wine, but very few songs are, microwave popcorn either,
Yeah. And having that ticking time bomb in the back of your head, like, I think back, a few years back when I would go and work with this producer, this name brand, or this, that, these folks only have a limited amount of time. Right. So now it's like you have that in the back of your head, where now it's like everything I'm putting out, I've spent less, obviously, on the money side and more on my own time, just to make sure it's right for me, right? And if folks dig it, they dig it. And if they don't, okay, let's just keep it moving, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, and you can keep working on it, especially in the demo phase. I mean, once you kind of release something, I mean, you can always re-release something because there really are no rules, right?
But who really knows, right?
Right, and honestly, like, this one's only got 4,000 plays. Like, I'll just re-release it again, see if anybody notices. Change the name a little bit, like, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But even nowadays, it's like, not to open up the floodgates of social media, right? But like, to your point, re-releasing, maybe you could just break it down, do a reel, do a duet, right? And I know that's always like that cringy moment for musicians, but it's just another lane,
Yeah, well, I have a song on our last record. It's actually our best streaming song to date, and we're actually going to talk about quickly the you just did your interview with Bacon Is My Podcast, so they just did their award show for 2021 and asked me to perform on it. So I did, and I did this acoustic version of that song. It's called Keep You Near, and I just did an acoustic version, just me and an acoustic guitar. And like the day it was released, I was getting dozens of, hey man, where can I get that version? Because sometimes it just hits, sometimes it sucks. Like I've redone some stuff and people are like, yeah, it's great, where's the other one? Like, but like it's fun. So sometimes like those things hit, those things miss. And that's actually what I like the most about the downtime of like COVID and the shutdown, because it gives you time to sort of reevaluate stuff and certainly stew in the creative process of anything that you're writing. So I love hearing that you do that, like, because my closest friends do that too. And it's like, we all understand, like, this is a long game. If I can, granted, if I'm going to have a super hit song, it's going to make me $10 million. I'd much rather that come sooner than later, but I'd also rather it come later than never. That whole thing. So speaking of Bacon Is My Podcast, now I found out last night that you were going to be their guest this week. Now, keep in mind, these are two of my best friends in the world, and we're all so busy that like I wasn't keeping track of their schedule, and they, we'll talk and stuff like that. But I saw the 7 questions pop up. I'm like, huh. So there's 7 questions with you last night. So we'll have you on the live interview here today. Then it's going to be the full interview with you on Monday, and then I'll release this next Thursday. Man, you are just blanketing this little area.
Just go. Hey, I'm all for it, man. I'll tell you, the conversation with them two was dope as hell, man. I was telling them, like, I'll head up there one day because, my sister lives up in Brooklyn. I was like, hey, it's just an excuse to see you guys, to head up there and see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Because the great, conversation, the vibes were good, man.
Yeah, well, they love what they do, and so and all the aspects of it, and they interview everybody. So like they're both songwriters, they're both like huge wrestling and comic book nerds. So like they have like all kinds of people on. So it's it's always
we definitely went down a few rabbit holes in that realm.
When I was on last time, I went there because it's only like 20 minutes for me. I went there. I think our interview went from 7 or 8 at night till about 3 in the morning. Right. So we didn't post
I'm not
all
surprised,
of it.
Though.
Yeah, no, it's just so easy, especially because I haven't seen them and stuff like that. But I did want to mention a couple things. By the way, everybody at home, you can check out his 7 questions. Rauli V 7 questions is on Strangerhood TV right now. But I did listen to it, and there were 2 things I wanted to ask you about or comment on. First of all, your choice of pizza, pepperoni on a Brooklyn slice. I totally agree with you. But you said something that was just brutally honest. And I just want to thank you for making the public aware. You were talking about folding or having it open. And you were pointing out how important it is on the hangover mornings to get all the pizza grease in your system, which is obviously the only known cure for a good solid hangover. So I thought that was very brave of you to come forward for the rest of us that like secretly enjoy the pizza grease, because it's so good. It's so
perfect, man. It's so good, man.
It was a solid answer. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, and this one surprised the hell out of me, and it's my fault for making judgments on the kind of music you play, you know, like what kind you look like you look like a rock dude and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the 7 questions is on a jukebox, what song do you go for? And you went with Staying Alive. And I was like, okay. But why? And I love it.
So,
I love it, but I needed to expand and find the rest of that answer.
And get that, dude. I don't know. For me, so anytime I think about like feel good music, right? Don't get me wrong. If I'm by myself, you know, in the car driving around, doing whatever I got to do, I'm always gonna be, you know, listening to 90s, 2000s rock. Like that's just what I was brought up on, right? You know, even late 2000s rock as well, right? That's what I'm all about, right? But there's something when you just want to have that like peace, like that therapeutic peace, where sometimes when I listen to rock, I feel like I am still working, like I'm critiquing, like even when I go to shows, right? Like I went to like a Bring Me the Horizon show a few years back, and I was just like, wow, this is so great. Well, that makes so much sense. Instead of just being in the moment, I'm like, okay, how can I become a better front man, right? How can I work the stage better? What can I do? You know what I'm saying? So my head's always spinning. And when I'm listening to rock, because like you said, I'm a traditional rocker. Like at the end of the day, I'm a rock head first, right? And then everything else kind of goes through the mix, right? And when I listen to rock, I'm putting myself in those moments. You know, what was I doing when the song came out? You know, oh man, that'll trigger something out. That earworm in the back of my head from the song you just sent me. So my head's like spinning. So for me, sometimes when I want that, like, I just want to feel good. You know, songs like Staying Alive, some Michael Jackson tracks will always hit the spot, you know? So it's like certain things like that. And those are a lot of songs that like my mom would always play when I was a kid too, right?
Yeah,
you know,
those songs.
80s, things like that, right? For her, right? For her, she was loving it, had the faux and everything like that. And she would always play it, you know, at the crib when I was always growing up in DR. So for me, it also means a lot for her and also for my grandma as well, because they would always play tracks like that would just hit the spot. You know, from Prince, all that stuff, man.
I get that, and I have those childhood things too. Like every now and then, I just throw them on because I want to listen to them. But I thought, you know, like the thing that I love about like Michael Jackson, you just mentioned Prince, and of course the Bee Gees, is a lot of the music they put out, especially like the Bee Gees, because before disco, like this, was it the 69 mining disaster or whatever? Like it's a beautifully crafted song. And there's something about the way brothers and siblings sing together, from, you know, like, you know, Hanson and, you know, the Jonas Brothers, like Take 'Em or Leave 'Em. But like, there's something about the way that siblings sound together. But I always thought like that whole, those Saturday Night Fever, the Saturday Night Fever records, all those Bee Gees songs, in my opinion, my songwriting opinion, are absolutely perfect. Like there's nothing, nothing's wrong with them. Just mixed, sung, recorded, right? Like it's just like that. And you hear that in Michael Jackson and of course Prince and like some George Michael songs, some Madonna songs, like these perfectly done songs. So that's what really struck me. I was wondering if it was more of a pullback to like something special, like you were saying about your mom, or just this sort of recognition of like, I am looking at the Botticelli of music here, or you know you know, Mona Lisa or whatever. But
no, it's all about vibes, man. All about vibes.
Yeah, I totally get it. All right, well, we've done our 20 minutes, so I'm not going to keep you. I do want to ask you if there's anything you want to promote besides Problems, which I will be promoting for you as soon as we're done with this call. But if there's any shows, any records, anything coming up, anything you want to tell anybody about?
Definitely, man. For everybody listening in, and I know I can't look at the chat, and I'm sorry if he was ignoring you guys. You know, I'll take some of that out as well. But listen, on January the 28th, my debut EP, full-blown debut EP for 2022. The EP is called Breathe, right? I actually got it tattooed on my hand as well, but
nice.
It comes out on the 28th. I'm
28th.
Super stoked and excited for it. There's a lot of songs that you guys might already be familiar with, some that you're going to talk about today, and some new stuff in there as well. But honestly, it's the first stage of the chapter of what Rauli V is.
Awesome.
And right after that, we're gonna have a few visual releases that are coming out, and then right after that, the next phase is gonna start, and it's definitely gonna keep you guys on your toes.
Cool. Well, we'll definitely have you back as you have other stuff to promote. That's one of the reasons we keep this so short, so you can come back often and not take up your entire life and stuff like that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, as a working artist, like, we got to do what we got to do. But I really appreciate you taking the time, being on the show today. I hope everybody dug the interview. Yes, chat, I looked at you at least 3 times. I will deal with them shortly, but definitely January 28th, the full first EP, or is it a record?
Yes. No, it's gonna be the first EP. Just short, simple, and sweet, just like this interview.
Got it. First EP drops on the 28th, and we'll of course have music for that for sure. Rauli V, thank you so much for being an awesome guest and a very, very talented songwriter, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. And stay warm, man. Have yourself a great day and stay warm.
I definitely will. All right, guys, check me out. I am Rauli V on all platforms. Have a great day, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Peace.
You too. Bye.